Hey everyone. I actually already stopped by Michael's so that I could pick up the art supplies for what we're doing on stream for the painting. I'm doing this video just to kind of let you know what it was that I picked up and like what it costs and everything so that you can pick up your own supplies. These aren't what you have to use. This is just what I found that I feel like is the best thing to fit the price point that we were talking about. So I went over there and I picked up canvas, and there's tons of canvases there and tons of different types and everything. And if you can't afford to go with the higher end canvas, it really doesn't hurt to go with some of like just the art board, because that stuff's not going to warp quite as much as some of the cheaper canvas will on you. So I ended up going with a 10 by 20. You can kind of see the shape of this guy here, but you can see how thick this is. This is one of like their more expensive canvases. This is the higher end stuff, and this is not going to warp on you quite the same way that other stuff will. You can see kind of the thickness that this thing has. So I got that first and foremost, and I did not skimp on that. So that one was $25.99, right? So $26 for this canvas. This, don't skimp on this. If you're gonna skimp, go with the artboards, but if you want canvas, go with the good stuff. Second to that is something else that I felt was really important to pick up for you to be able to work with, and this may or may not be enough stuff. I may actually want to pick up some more if I was going to do like a bigger piece. But for this 10 by 20, I feel like we'll be able to get away with like what I've purchased, as long as we're careful not to overuse white and we're careful not to overuse black, because a lot of people just kind of coat the canvas in that. So we'll probably be using the white behind this as one of our tones, especially because picking up gesso was a little too expensive for this particular project. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use these guys. I don't normally use this brand, Winsor and Newton, right? But I found this there, and this was relatively cheap for the amount of paint that I'm getting here. And these are not like insanely liquidy acrylics. What we're looking for is something with a little bit more body to it. But these guys in particular, I got 20 of them, right? 20 different colors. And the ones that I'm really interested in here are, we've got Process Magenta. That one's really important for us, right? And then if you look down here, we got Process Cyan and Process Yellow. That's our C, M, and Y that we'll be needing. And it's got all the other colors that people standard want. We've got our Mars Black as well as our Titanium White. So this set me back a grand total of $34.99, $35. This is the most expensive thing that I bought for the entire project. So this is $35, $26 so far. All right. Then the next thing, glazing medium. You don't have to have this. I know I'm going to catch a lot of shit for this from a lot of artists out there. You can use water. Don't hate me, everybody who's going to attack me for that. But the trick is, water is not as nice. Water is going to not dilute it as evenly. It's not going to work quite the same and things like that that you're used to. And it's not intended to be used with water. But in a pinch, you can use water. Don't let anyone tell you can't. But I didn't want to use water. I wanted to make it easier on us. And I wanted to be able to extend the paint set a little further because we bought smaller paints for the paint set. So this is a satin glazing medium. This we would mix into our paints as we go. And this is going to not only extend the paint, it's going to let us glaze better and all kinds of other awesome stuff. So we got this, right? That guy right there is $14.99, $15, right? Then the next thing that I have right here is I've got just a palette. You don't have to have one of these. I bought this because they're pretty cheap. This one was $4.99, and I figured, why not, you know? But in a pinch, some plastic wrap on a piece of cardboard would work just fine. Some of my early paintings that I sold that I made a lot of money on actually were all done on cardboard wrapped in a piece of plastic wrap. But I do like working with a palette. It just makes it a little bit easier. So that guy right there, again, $4.99, $5, $5. Then I picked up just some cheap palette knives. We probably won't get a whole lot of use out of these, but if you threw them away, who would even care, right? They're so cheap. So these are $2.99, and these are for mixing your paints, as well as you can use this to apply paint onto the canvas. So I've got these guys. We'll put those right up there. And then, last but not least, this guy right here. These were $9.99. This is just a set of brushes. These are like student level brushes, so they're not gonna last forever, and they're not super, super nice, but we can get the job done with these just fine. And what I did was I just picked up like a flat and then like a couple other smaller brushes and like a detail brush. And worst case scenario, if you needed to, you could go pick up like a couple filberts and things like that. So we'll probably work with this brush set, and then it'll put me a little more over budget than we expected, but I may pick up like one small filbert to go with it. So this is what I've picked out for our project to work with. And in total, all of this stuff here is $100.52 after tax. After tax. So this is $93.94 prior to tax, which is what I'm considering the budget to be. But even after tax, this was $100.52. But being as we do have a little bit of budget left over, we could either go pick up some really cheap gesso, or we could pick up the filbert brushes, which more than likely what we're going to do is the filbert brushes, because I think that's more important. The gesso would be nice, but the canvas is pretty high end, so it's got like a smaller amount of tooth, but the right kind of tooth to it. So I don't know, I think we'll be fine on this. And so if you want to go out and pick up supplies, this is what I'm working with. But they do make cheaper versions of all this stuff. You can get this with some cheaper, what do you call it, paints in it, as well as brushes, gesso, and glazing medium and stuff like that right over there at Michael's. So that's worth looking into too. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Make sure you pick your stuff up before we get started. And then hopefully next time we'll at least start talking about how we're going to go into it and have some design work and things like that ready to rock. So again, thank you and enjoy.